Hood Uber, the Wells Fargo assessment of the Doordash stock. We need to talk about some political stuff. Won't go too deep into what's going on in New York City. And then we need to get into some illegal account stuff, which hopefully we will continue on Thursday, Sean and myself. So right on the other side, you guys.
Well, midnight headlight, blinding on a rainy night, steep grade up ahead, slowing down and making no time. I gotta keep it rolling. Those are windshield wipers slapping out the tempo, breaking from the rhythm with the song on the radio.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome, LinkedIn. Welcome to X. I don't know whether to call it Twitter or X anymore, but let's just stick with X. That is its name, but it was Twitter forever. And welcome to YouTube. And the audio podcast listeners, when you get this drop, welcome to you as well. Lots of big things happened. We're going to talk about them. We give some people a little time to get in here, especially on the LinkedIn side, because I want to make sure that some people are here for what's going on that have been a big help. And we're going to get to all that. But let's start off here. I want to tell you guys about, you've even heard me talk about it a while back, Hood Uber. So we got a couple topics just to kind of get us going here a little bit. I want to get into this, what is going on in San Antonio specifically. Hood Uber exists in many cities. If those of you who are not familiar with Hood Uber, Hood Uber is basically people on Facebook listing their service and that they'll take you from A to B, but not using an app to do it. And it's kind of like a Craigslist thing. You're rolling the dice with it, right? Well, in a lot of big cities, Hood Uber has begun, basically because of the crazy fees that Uber and Lyft have out. In a lot of cities, people are choosing to go to Facebook Marketplace and find rides for cheaper from people they don't know. Hands down, without question, the biggest one in the country is San Antonio. San Antonio right now has 21,000 users in a Facebook group called Hood Uber. Hood Uber San Antonio. There are people pricing out Uber rides at $40, $50 that people are willing to do for $15, $20. Again, not something I condone, but I'm bringing it up because I think it brings about something that we all are trying to do here, which is land some private clients. Maybe not everybody is, but you're trying to land some private clients. You're trying to, work your way out of being dependent on the app, right? Even multi-apping helps you do that. But people are landing private clients through using the apps. This is a little different. This is people customers saying, I've had enough. I'm going to Hood Uber. You guys need to understand that a group of 21,000 in one single city, San Antonio is a big city, yes, but one city doing it this way, again, I don't condone it. I think it's very dangerous. We do know of some incidents that have already happened. So you're putting yourself out there by doing it. But hey, it does showcase the problems that the rideshare companies and other apps for that matter too, but specifically the rideshare companies are facing, which is people are counting their money a lot closer, and people are definitely not wanting to spend the fees that they see on Uber anymore. And I think we've passed the era. Some people still do this, but most people I know by now don't have Uber and Lyft on their phone anymore. I'm sure there are some people who have Lyft. Most people I know have just switched to Uber, and they've deleted Lyft off their phone. The days of the price comparing are gone. The airport reveal that happened a couple of years ago, and we've talked about it a few times, which they can read your battery power. They know when you flip on Lyft when you're at the airport and then flip back to Uber. So if you see a price, you're like, that's high. And you flip over to Lyft and you see that it's high over on Lyft too. Maybe it's a little cheaper, but you're like, I'll go back to the Uber. It's only a $4 difference. You're going to find that it added $20. So customers just don't want to pay it anymore. It's surprising to me that a community of 21,000 regular users, these are active users, are using this on the daily, though. It's been growing down there forever. I seriously think people getting private clients is a great thing. Make sure that you hopefully Sean wants to dive into this a little bit on Thursday, because I want to talk about you, whatever you're doing. Could just be DoorDash, could just be Instacart, could just be Rideshare. I don't know. But you are independent contractors, by definition. Whether you feel like you are or not, you are by definition. Take advantage of some of that. But at the same time, do any of you know what it costs to become an LLC or even an S Corp? You might hear that and go, that's got to be tons of money. Do you know that these are not that expensive to do and they don't provide protections that are going to save your ass in any scenario. However, they do provide protections that you as a single individual do not have. And I'm not going to be telling you to become one, but there are tax benefit. There's all kinds of benefits to you, the independent contractor, to make sure that you are set up properly and correct. And it also kind of safeguards you a bit. Is it going to safeguard you from taking a teenage unaccompanied minor? No. Is it going to safeguard you from a lawsuit for delivering alcohol? No. Is it going to safeguard you for delivering to the post office when you sign for an Uber Connect that you're taking in 6 packages and you say, are there any liquids or explosives? You have no clue. You're going to sign your name that there are not. Does it protect you from any of that? No. As a Uber Connect, you need a courier bond. As a delivery driver, you need or alcohol, you need to be, you need to make sure that you are tip certified and that you have, but even then, you're not protected. We'll get into that more on Thursday, I hope. But I do want to put a pin in it because if we don't get to it Thursday, we will definitely be getting to it next week here because yeah, I mean, listen, everybody should, by the way, like to become an LLC here in Colorado, I don't remember exactly what it is. It was a long time ago that I did mine. It's like $120 a year or something. That allows you to do other work too. That allows you to start kind of thinking outside the box and going, well, I want to do this, or I want to, because you're an independent contractor. You're a free tradesman. You're allowed to do other things that you know how to do. All of us know how to do other things. Maybe there's a way. I mean, look at the people that get on Etsy and make money and things like that. There's other ways to make money. But again, you should be doing all of this under something. You should not I really heavily don't advise this one, but even sole proprietorship, that is an option as well. Sean and I can talk about these a little bit because I know he has some experience with these as well on Thursday, but I do think there's a huge advantage. And again, you do need to put into I do believe you need to invest into yourself a little bit. You need to, it might mean kicking down a few dollars every year. Yes. But that is part of the independent contractor trade. If you can't do that, or if you look at it and go, I'm not doing that, maybe it's not for you, especially with the way that the trending seems to be going. You want to make sure that you can, I mean, I should be able to allocate $100 to be an LLC every year, or I shouldn't be doing any of this stuff. It's just my personal opinion. You guys can do what you want, but I think that if you hear a little bit about it, it gives you a better understanding. And if you look into it, it gives you, in your state, it gives you an even greater understanding. So, oh, wait, why'd that crash? Because it's Hood Uber. Okay, so, why? Okay, close. Okay. So moving forward here a little bit, though, we'll get into that on Thursday. So Wells Fargo, one of the largest banking institutions in the country and one of the oldest, has now lowered its long-term target on DoorDash. I want to bring up what it was first. Okay, so this is from today. This happened today. So they are always weighing how the market's reacting. They understand that there are things going on overseas that affect the market. There are lots of things that affect the market, and it is always weighed. But when you reposition as a bank, the target, you really are going above and beyond what investors and stuff are telling you. This is the bank. This is Wells Fargo institution saying this, and they've lowered the target. I remember when some people were claiming $500 a share to the moon, blah, blah, blah. Now it has been $221 for Wells Fargo for the past about 3 months, the target for Doordash. Doordash is crashing, not crashing to the point where it's going out of business as of yet, but it's performing horrendously, even in a bad environment, horribly. I know that from talking to many of you and emails from audio podcast listeners and others, I do know that many of you are feeling this, if not all of you, and have moved on to other apps or are multi-apping. Doing Doordash alone these days is very difficult. Now, in some markets, you might find like Dustin, Major Deliveries up in, I think he's outside of Tacoma. If I get that wrong, Dustin, I'm sorry. But like Dustin, he has a method that has worked for him for a long time. He knows that he can go out there and every week make right in this range with just Doordash. Maybe some of you have that too. Most markets are not that lucky. It's very unpredictable. But there aren't banger days and non-banger days and stuff. You really have to go out there and grind to just try and make that little amount to get by. Now, again, the market is having a hard time. Employment is having a hard time. But the price target of $221 today just got adjusted by Wells Fargo in the hopes of their hopeful target now is $198. Might not seem like a big jump to you guys, but that's a $23 drop on a stock that falls every day. That's a big deal when a bank does it. So that is something that I say this because keep that in your head when you're doing Doordash. Keep these things I'm not saying you're going to go out and invest in Doordash, but keep these in your head when you're working Doordash, right? I don't know. I mean, you don't want to go out there and you're like, dude, it's not picking up. It's like, here we are, spring, almost summer. I mean, winter was just passed right by. I mean, some of you on the East Coast got it harder than we did here, and we're a state that counts on winter to have people come and visit and stuff. So we're out of winter, we're in spring, and it almost feels like summer some days. It's been 92 here some days. So, but keep that in mind, because we always say, coming out of after the holidays, it's dead in January. In the spring, it picks up. In the summer, summer slowdown. There's all these terms, but really, if you're just noticing that, dude, my week is going down, 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 down. Look at the stock too. Look at the performance. Things are not going well for the company at all. They were banking on a ton of things to happen this year that are just not coming to fruition. And, even Tony Hsu himself warned that this year investors would not see the returns they saw last year. Last year sucked for the company, especially at the end of the year. And in the fourth quarter, especially when he made that comment, it sucked. So, keep that in mind, because you should be multi-apping if you're just working gig apps. I have other things that I do too. So, I mean, like for each individual, it's a little different, clearly. For each market, it's a little different, clearly. I mean, I would love it if some of you guys are telling me that, hey, I'm crushing it on Doordash in my market right now. I hope that is true, but I'm not seeing that in the chat as I like kind of just am looking over here. Not seeing that. Not seeing it from you guys. In fact, what I hear from almost everybody, and I don't speak across the board guru nonsense. Of course, it's market to market, city to city. Who knows? I mean, like even summer slowdown to me was never really meant a lot, because some markets literally are summer dependent. I grew up in Michigan, and I can tell you a lot of the lake communities have a 4-month window to make their amount of money for the year. I mean, they do some business off times, But they count on that summer money is what they count on. That summer to them is like quadruple. And the people coming through is like quadruple what it is the rest of the year. So summer slowdown only applies to cities that it applies in. But kind of, just keep that in mind. I know a lot of you dash. I know a lot of you dash a lot. And maybe start trying to utilize the time a little bit different and just play. Every once in a while I throw that out there. So let's throw that out there. Now, I want to talk about something before I get into the meat of this week. I want to talk about something that is very odd. As we know, the midterms are coming up in November, and wow, I've got pop-ups all over here. So the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, she is running for a new term. She's a Democrat. Again, I'm an independent registered voter. I vote on the topics, and I've said this before, and I vote with my wallet. I don't vote on the candidates anymore. I don't vote on the smile, the haircut, and the way that they can lie to reporters and things like that. I base my decision on each topic more than the candidate. I don't care about the candidates. I care about the topics. And I vote with my pocketbook. You guys definitely don't have to do that. You don't have to do anything. You can do whatever you want. But I learned earlier in life that voting left, right, and sticking with those parties is not a good idea. The changes that you're hoping for with that are never going to come. You got to vote on the down ballot stuff. That's the important thing. And there's a lot of ways to get this information to you. You don't have to, especially with some of the large language models like ChatGPT and things like that, you can just put in there whatever you want. Like, I'm a New York resident. These are the 3 things that matter to me the most. Like property tax, XYZ, whatever your biggest things are. There's an example of where it can help you. I don't want to call it AI because I think we're in a fake AI window. I don't think AI, it is doing things. Yes. Are jobs being lost because of it? Yes. But jobs have been going away for a while in a bad economy. So it's a mixture of a lot of things. But we have a different scenario in New York than we've ever seen. So as she runs for re-election, Uber in other states pump money into the Republicans, right? That's what we always see. They're always fighting, like in California, almost the same topic. They're almost fighting, and they're putting money into what the right or the Republicans might be wanting. The left or the Democrats, and by the way, I'm not talking about extreme right or left, because those people are crazy, straight up. Sorry if you're one of them, but you guys do extreme left, extreme right. You need to do a reality check. Just saying. But Kathy Hochul, who is the current governor, who is running for re-election, is running against a guy who I know nothing about. His name is Bruce Blakeman. Now, when I saw this article, I thought, okay, this is going to be Bruce Blakeman saddling up for some Uber money to try and take her position. Well, it's not. Uber has pumped $8 million into a super PAC for Kathy Hochul. This is the first time that I know of where Uber, the company, is dumping money into a super PAC for a Dem-led committee. It's really crazy because $8 million. And this is, by the way, this isn't to solve every problem that the company has by any means. This $8 million that they're putting in is simply to keep the taxes down that the company has to pay for rideshare drivers. So obviously they don't care. This is again where they don't care. The Uber doesn't care about party lines. They care about which candidate is the one pushing the agenda. Oddly, it's the left on this case, and they're backing her. They're saying, here's $8 million. I mean, Derek Khosrowshahi, this year has given $48,000. And that might seem like nothing to you because it's Derek Khosrowshahi who earns so much, the CEO of Uber. But Derek Khosrowshahi himself has put $48,000 towards Kathy Hochul's gubernatorial run. That should tell you guys something, even though you're like, well, that's just a little number for him. It doesn't matter. There are limits on what you can donate and whatnot. But the fact that the CEO, outside of giving the company giving $8 million, that the CEO is giving the Hochul campaign 48 grand of his money says it to me. It speaks volumes. If you guys don't see it that way, maybe maybe we'll dig deeper and try and make it so that everybody is understanding what I'm seeing here, because this is not, we've never seen this. We've never seen them come in and back a Dem candidate. And I'm kind of surprised. I want to learn more about this because as I read on about it, I'm getting the fact of what has happened with the money, but I need to get into what are they trying to do with the insurance. So again, maybe something we put a pin in and talk about on Thursday, because that's crazy. That is crazy. And the fact that, I mean, it really is that she is getting this much endorsement from Uber. From what I know about Kathy Hochul, she's not doing a very good job. Now a lot of politicians don't do a good job, right or left, but New York's a big state that has, I mean, in terms of not just big, but it has a big power in this country. New York on the East Coast, California on the West Coast. Like them or not, they both have big power when it comes to influencing who needs to be influenced. So we need to definitely look into this a little more. Before I get into this, into tonight's main piece, I do want to shut this window so it's not taking up all of my power. And I want to, as I get ready for this here real quick, I am going to play you guys. This is only a minute 15 long. Watch it. Gary's apps, you guys. Check it out.
Gary'sApps.com is the destination for apps that helps gig workers be safer, more focused, and more proficient. The Maximo app, which is spelled Maxymo, it helps Uber, Lyft, and Grubhub drivers by automatically switching between apps and turning them on or off as needed. For example, if a driver accepts an Uber trip, Maximo will turn off all the other apps that are online, and when the trip is completed, it'll turn the apps back on for the driver. It will also auto-accept or decline offers based on the driver's personal preferences that they set directly in Maximo. Then they have the Driver's Utility Helper app, also known as DUH, which is similar to Maximo, but is only for Doordash drivers. It as well can help by automatically accepting or declining offers, in addition to showing drivers on-screen information such as the per-mile rate and how long until the delivery is due, which will allow the driver to make a decision quicker when the request comes in. The last app is Flex Alert for Amazon Flex drivers. It takes the hassle out of tapping the screen for hours on end, which can be exhausting, by automatically tapping the refresh button for the driver and then alerting them when a new block appears. This way they can focus on a more important task, driving. Find out more at Gary's Apps, GARYS apps.com for more information and download the apps you need today.
You all catch that, right? Gary'sApps.com. Just check it out. Check it out. I see that Toyo left a comment asking, still trying to wrap my head around the bots in my area. I'm going to talk about some of what's gone down here in the past few days. But again, that's why I kind of was putting it out, is we're going to have a little bit to talk about this week, because we're going to push some to Thursday and we'll get into the specifics. I mean, amounts and how they work specifically on Thursday. I want to have Sean there to talk through this with. Yeah. Hi everybody. I'm just checking to see if Christopher Taylor says, didn't get a picture of it, but saw a fake Waymo car. I don't even know what that means. What do you mean a fake Waymo? Oh my gosh. A late model maroon minivan with a Waymo LiDAR on top of it. Oh, no. That is a Waymo. Was it like a light blue? That is a Waymo. So yeah, I've seen them here too. I have a short up of one of them. Let's see if I have any other, guys, I fell a little behind. Ron, what's up? And everybody else, Ron says, and I saw your comment earlier too. Ron left a comment before I started about Walmart Spark and said that Ron used to be in Massachusetts and now he is in North Carolina. And he said the volume for Walmart Spark is down and that it seems to be just kind of a EBT thing going on right now. I don't do Spark, so I don't know. I do hear from a ton of you about that, but I haven't even heard a lot of that from people. So if anybody else has that same experience, I'd love to hear it. Legend Valley says DoorDash is spending several $100 million on technological infrastructure, autonomous robotics, and expansion, which is negatively impacting short-term profit. Yeah, but it's also impacting long-term profit because they're nowhere near reality on any of that. And they are not a tech company, I mean, their DoorDash bots, for example, or their Dot, right? The delivery model that cost $110,000, by the way. These things get trashed. They need maintenance. They need cleaning, all this stuff. They need employees now to take care of them, just like the Waymos would. So they need employees cleaning them between I mean, it's a nightmare of logistics. It's more about showing that, hey, we have these. Look at this. We have these. It's not taking over anywhere. And I mean, like maybe like Christopher Taylor brings it up sometimes about Phoenix. Phoenix has been a Waymo and an autonomous hotspot since before they even launched in any California market. Phoenix was the original place where autonomous was being tested. So maybe if they are trying to show that one city could really get up there, that would be my guess, is the Phoenix area. But the other cities where they're doing this stuff, there's like 10, 20 of them out there. That's it. And they're just really, they're not doing any. I mean, look at Chicago. It's a joke. And then when it snows, they can't even go out. So they're going to flip-flop back and forth. People won't come on the platform and work it. So I do hear you. And that is what Tony Hsu said last year. Hey, expect smaller profits this year because of exactly what Legend Valley said. We're going to do this, and this. Well, you know what? Investors are waking up. The customers are pissed. We talk about this all the time. Customers are pissed off. Drivers been pissed off for a long time. But you have the restaurant partners more than pissed off. And that's where again, we're going to get to some lawmakers here who are taking on a battle. Well, we'll get there. But we can always complain. The customers can always complain. We can even complain to our elected officials, right? They represent us. They have to hear you. They do. I've learned this over the years, just working with all of these great people, but this is I feel like this is like a new tactic. Like, look at us, the tech company. That's what you said back 10 years ago, guys. You're not a tech company. You've been exposed. And every time it comes up in court, just like it did here on the Senate floor in Colorado, when they used my podcast for referencing, I mean, there were people, that's when the Uber and Lyft for the rideshare portion were saying, well, we're not a tech company. It's like literally in the news that day in every other state they were running, we're a tech company. And then here they're like, no, we're just a simple dispatch company. We don't really do anything tech. So they're always flip-flopping back and forth between that. To me, that's always been a play on investors and trying to get some more money put into it. But yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion. This is how I see it. And I work with a lot of people who believe that same thing. 8-hour shift in food depends on market, 150 to 200. Yeah, of course it depends on market. Flat out. We all know that. Anybody who says that they can give you across the board value, that's not true. That's not true. You need to know about your market. there are some general things that people can try and tell you about, but nobody's a guru. Nobody can tell you like, oh, you're going to be fine. And you're like, no, unless they work in your market, they don't know. And I have guests on and have for years from all around the country. So I know that a lot of people tell me a lot of different things. That's why I know market to market, but I also know, dang, that's a big difference between these two markets. Oh, these markets are pretty much the same. You can't just do a small sample size and think you know everything. You can't. Let's see. Gridwise, good shout out there. Love it. What is Sue Sharon? Become a better driver. Okay. That's interesting. Like Richard, what's up, man? Without Google backing Waymo. Oh yeah, they will have gone under. Not only that, and Richard, you know this. So Richard's now talking about Waymo, which is Google owns Waymo, or Google owns Alphabet, and Waymo is a division of Alphabet. And he is 100% right. If they didn't have the trillions and trillions of dollars that Google money, they would be out of business at this point. I mean, even the small sample sizes, the hitting the one kid, the cat, even the cat. I know it sounds dumb, but the cat that was killed in San Francisco, you got to remember that there's such a small amount of these out on the road. They can't be ticketed. They can't be held accountable. They self-insure. This is not a company that without Google money through the roof behind it could even exist. But I still err on the side of it's trash. Like, you guys think what you want, but everything I've done, they're just mapping, and they're making money while they're mapping too. We all know how data is sold off, so they're selling this to other companies too. It's not just for their mapping purposes, but at least, and why I say that is because that's like they're out. It's like if everything does fail, at least they're making some money while they're putting this product out there and testing it. But really, like when it comes to market and it really matters, and there's mass amounts of them in many years, I think Waymo just wants to be the original one, because once they are here, there will be tons in a long time. I mean, a long time off, not around the corner. But I wanted to let's go through the path that gets us to today. Okay. And we're going to roll through some things pretty quick here. So, and I will try and keep up with, anything you guys are putting here, but I'm looking out to the corner of my eyes. Guys, I am not using StreamYard, although I have it open. I'm just not touching it because I'm trying to watch for comments from LinkedIn or X, and I'm watching over here for YouTube, but I'm really concentrating on the podcast because as the audio podcast always is, this has been my original project since I started, was the audio podcast. So in 2020, in late 2019, AB5 was voted into law. It went into effect on January 1st of 2020. The pandemic happened began in March of 2020. And when AB5 went into effect, immediately California gig app companies said no. When they formed the Flex Association, and they said, no, we're not going to participate in this AB5, which killed a lot of independent contractors, traditional. 300, 600 plus careers that I know of. I have a short up, I have a short up that lists them all. I have that list still. All the careers that were killed and that you can't do on your own as an independent contractor, self-employed freelancer anymore in California. It is over. It's been gone. But they held them accountable to it too. Well, Uber and Lyft demanded that Prop 22 be put on the November 2020 ballot, and until then that they not be held responsible to follow Prop 20 or AB5. And they did get it on the ballot because at the state had said, no, you're going to pay. And they said, no, we're going to shut down. And it came to that literally to the wire on time. Those of you that remember. So when it did, all this happened. Now I'm just placing the timeline here because it was right after the pandemic, March 28th, when the CARES Act went into effect and the world shut down. And we were told for the first time in my lifetime, stay at home orders. This is pre-social distancing. This is the first thing you had heard. You guys stay at home. We don't know what's going on. There's a pandemic. Stay at home. Okay. I mean, this freaked all of us out, right? None of us knew what to think. Well, that's when I took the news website I was running and turned it into the audio podcast. And we're now on episode 563, I think today is. But during this time is when I met David Pickerel, but also when I met independent contractors and the groups they were associated with, because I do pyrotechnics, lasers, lighting, that kind of stuff too. So I am a traditional independent contractor, and I needed to know, how does this affect me? So I went to groups on Twitter and other things and got tied in with some of the most amazing people. A lot of people were hitting these platforms at the time, and it was a good time to meet them, because any other time in the planet, I wouldn't have met all these amazing people because we were all locked at home. Kim Cavan, Karen Anderson, Mike Harubi, John Lopez, along with a bunch of others. Fight for Freelancers, Independent Contractors for Change. You guys, the list goes on and on and on. But these people are going to come into play here because these were independent contractor groups that tremendously were helping me with the content that I'm putting out here on the podcast. So they've all been guests as well. Mike Harubi started a thing on his own, and he's got the Be My Own Boss slogan. So in 2020, I also met David Pickerel through a newspaper article, CBS New York, that we were both featured in and didn't know each other. That's how I met David. And so David was doing autonomy.jobs. We hooked up and did some random stuff. It had no affiliation with gig apps, nothing. But we both, we just started doing these random collabs as him doing that. Then late in 2020, going into 2021, David began Para, and I was one of the 4 people in the original group of Para. 2021 Para and 2022 Para tip transparency. I know you guys all remember it, because if you were around, you remember it, because that was the way. Everybody loved it unless they weren't using it. They were mad about the fact that after the fact they found out how awesome it was. But David and I have always been all about transparency. Those of you who know me know this. I mean, like, you can go back to my first episode on this podcast, and it is no joke. It is called Rideshare Drivers. Are you employees or independent contractors? That's the first episode I dropped on the first week of May in 2020. 562 weeks or episodes later, here we are still debating that kind of thing. But I've taken it to a new level. You pick your battles: transparency and removal of metrics. Now, remember, I'm working with all these groups. A lot of them don't do any gig app work, but they're like amazing writers and people who have really, really gauntlets in the field. And they've been huge help to me. So David and I are doing Para. We're moving into some other projects. I take over Para Works. That becomes my baby. We're doing all kinds of awesome things for people to earn on. We were doubling what people could earn on Instacart orders simply by doing a check of at the end of an aisle for a tortilla company. We had all of the Bay Area. We had like over 1,500 Safeways were under contract with us, from San Francisco to Sacramento, up north about 30 miles, and all the way down to Santa Cruz, and the whole radius there. We had all the Safeways. In 2022, David and I started the driver rights movement. This was a side project of Para that we were doing on our personal time, like by the midnight hour. This was something that we both cared about huge. And we were trying to get, this wasn't a union. This wasn't we weren't fighting for pay. We were fighting for transparency, which still to this day is what I'm doing. In 2022, I met House Representative Stephanie Vigil of Colorado, and David and I brought her into the driver rights movement and talked with her a few different times. She was newly elected, and we started working on the transparency bill for Colorado. This was 2022, and the original bill was supposed to be for 2023. In 2023, that bill got shot down in the House because it included all of them, rideshare and delivery. Nothing like this transparency law existed anywhere in the country. So we weren't working off a template or anything. We had no idea like what we were doing. We just knew that this had to be done. And we knew that in Stephanie, we had a fighter because she had previously been a gig worker. And to this day, I still don't know if there's any state that has a House member or a Senate member that did gig work prior to being elected other than Stephanie. She's the only one I still know to date who is a gig worker who got elected into office. So she got elected and she didn't have support across the aisle. Now, the 2023 bill failed early part of 2023. So it would have gone into effect in 2024, but it failed. It didn't pass. It didn't pass both sides. She didn't have the support of the bill, but the language was correct. It was. We had nobody on the Senate side supporting at all. Now, we learned in early 2023 or through the end of 2022, early 2023, we learned that Stephanie, that she was trying to push the bill again. Again, though, it was still set up into one bill. Now, in 2023, those of you that remember, here, let me put this up. Remember that, here, let me move myself to the side for this. You will remember the town hall. Town hall was critical in this. Town hall was put on by me and Para only. Nobody else was involved. Stephanie was involved, Para, myself. And this is one of the original poster boards. We had them all over the restaurant. And the event was amazing. Luckily, at that event, we did get Senator Priola to come to the event. And this was a last minute thing because Sergio was there and he had been hounding Senator Priola on Twitter about some things, but he was getting no response. Stephanie had like laid some breadcrumbs for him and he was getting no response. I had reached out, no response. Finally, we found a step through Stephanie. We found a couple people who at least were going to get him to the event, which was on a Saturday. It's very tough to get a senator who isn't on board with what you're doing to a town hall event of gig workers who he had been opposing the bill or the transparency bill. He was starting to look into some of these Prop 22 ridiculous mechanisms that fail in every state they touch. Washington State, California, New York, you guys already know. Those are fails across the board. Can't put the dollar amount in. We always knew that. We knew it was about the transparency. So and I'm sorry, Para and the drivers' rights movement, myself and Stephanie. That's it. Those are the supporters of Town Hall. Now, at Town Hall, after using all of Stephanie's resources, we did get Senator Kevin Priola there. I don't know how we did that either because Senator Kevin Priola was not only opposite party of Stephanie, he was also not on board with this bill. He was looking forward to talking with what at the time was going to be another Prop 22. He came to the event, and at the event, we all got a chance to talk to him. The town hall is where he changed his stance. He didn't sign over and say, I'm on board, but he changed his stance. We showed him that it failed in other places. This is when we knew that elected officials could be approached. So was he saying it at the event? After the event, Sergio and I were having a couple beers, and I remember we were at the Para House and we were talking about it in private, just him and I for a little bit. And I remember that he was like, I think we got to him. And I didn't want to get like overly confident, but I was like, I think we did too. And he had said we did. But of course, that's what they would say. He actually then the next, like within a couple of weeks of the event, got in touch with Stephanie's office, which she had been banging down his door to please get in touch with her. He gets in touch with her office. He sets up a meeting, and he sat down with her and the bill that we put together in 2022 to get 2023 pushed, or into 2023 to 2024. And he said, the biggest problem here is we need to split this bill. You need a rideshare bill and you need a food delivery bill because, and he started breaking down, and he didn't even know our game yet. But that's where he came in handy. Everybody's a piece of the puzzle. You guys are a piece of the puzzle for watching or listening or wherever you're taking this in. You're a piece of the puzzle. You've helped. You've raised great questions. You've raised things that I've passed along to people. Everybody in this community of ours has helped that believes in transparency and removal of metrics and no illegal accounts. I mean, all this stuff is very important. So Senator Priola starts working with Stephanie, and they put together in late 2023 the bill to go in 2024. In May of 2024, the bill was split into Senate and House. Both passed. The House had the delivery, the DNC, and the Senate had the rideshare, the TNC. Both bills passed into law. This is now May of 2024. Both bills went into law and became effective January 1st for the DNC of 2025 and February 1st of 2025 for the TNC. Both have been law now here for however long that's been, right? So, 15 months for the DNC, 14 months for the TNC. They've now been law. That should not be questioned by anybody. If anybody questions that, just go look it up, dude. It's a law. It's a law, you guys. If anybody tells you it's not a law, go look it up. It's a law. So there's going to be a lot of people to thank, but today, for this purpose anyway, I do want to thank some people who really above and beyond stepped out to help during some of this stuff, like in a big way. Gary Middleton. That's why, also he's a friend, and I trust him impeccably. But Gary Middleton really went out of his way to help this cause. He believed in it, and he and I were friends. So that's why Gary doesn't pay me to plug his stuff. I plug his stuff because I believe in it. Joel Shapiro from Seattle, Sergio Avedian, even Harry and the entire Rideshare Guy team, all were backing what we were doing here. And it was a process. Remember now, this is 2022 to 2024, 2 years of not just Stephanie being in office, but us working directly with her to make change. And now that change is law. There are a ton of people I need to shout out, and there's a handful I absolutely never need to shout out. I'm going to make a community post later this week and give the shout outs and accolades that should be given to those that should be given to. Hopefully I won't miss anybody. If I do, I'll just amend it by adding them in the bottom. But I think I'll just make a nice community post about all this because they need to be thanked. I also need to mention, and this is important, you guys. I need to mention Chicago Driver 1 was his handle. And it wasn't the full word Chicago. I don't know if you guys ever remember this. He was on you. He would come to YouTube occasionally, but he always listened to my audio podcast. His name was Dave, and Dave passed away late last year after a long battle with cancer. He lived in downtown Chicago. He was extremely smart. Dave emailed me regarding my audio podcast episodes on a regular basis. And now Dave was not somebody who all the time, in fact, a lot of times did not. He did not agree with things I said, or he kind of did. But he wasn't just spewing and ranting and making no sense and just being a joke. He actually was breaking down what he was telling me and making it make sense. And then Dave and I started getting on the phone. We started talking. We became great friends. He knew my son's name. If we got on the phone, we were asking about each other's family. How you doing, Dave? And he would tell me about a bad day, a good day. We became pretty good friends before he passed away. And it really broke my heart when he did, because he had stage 4 cancer for about 3 years. I have a friend here that has stage 4 cancer up in the mountains in Colorado who is coming up on about 3 years. Now, when I was growing up, stage 4 cancer meant the end, and you were going to pass away fairly quickly. These days, some of the meds and whatnot, but it's still stage 4. For what I know about it, it's still stage 4. Dave made it through a lot of this stuff. He was in and out of all these testing. His body, he was depleted. He was beat down. Dave was an amazing friend. He challenged me. He knew what he was talking about. He essentially was a big part of helping me become the better podcaster, in fact, that I am, because he was showing me ways that he was looking at things, and ways to always challenge myself, even by looking at the other side before talking about something, and making sure about how I felt before, making sure there was nothing to introduce from that side. So, continuing the transparency and metric removal fight state by state has been quite a battle. But I am working with some of the smartest people on the planet on this. People who have dealt with me. Mike Harubi's been writing national legislation for over 30 years. I've done podcasts with Mike. I helped him start his Be My Own Boss podcast. We did 50 episodes of that together. He's been on this one like 10 times. Mike is an amazing man. Kim Cavan. These are all amazing people. And they all have they're just amazing talents. They understand all this stuff. They really help bring me up to speed. Being your own boss, self-employment, that is a right that this country, as Kim Cavan would say, since the first day of this country, everybody has had a right to hang out a shingle and earn $1 for themselves. There's always been a way. It's gotten more complicated, but there's always been a way. There was a thing called the PRO Act not too long ago. We won't dive into that, but that was literally a national push during the last administration to end independent contractorship for everybody. Across the board, didn't matter what you did. Gone. The last administration wanted everything to be unionized. So I just want to give those shout outs as well. When Luis Berti and I, Delivery TV, guys, check him out. I know he's a Spanish channel, but if he's actually, there's a new feature on YouTube that now because you all watch in English, or I'm assuming most of you do, if you have your YouTube set so that it's watching in English, when you go to Luis's videos, it plays them in English. Now, the voice that you'll hear isn't the real voice of Luis. I know a lot of people who are like, I don't really notice it. I talk to Luis every week, if not multiple times every week. So to me, I notice it, but I can see where you wouldn't. But it's funny because it doesn't sound like him. But we need to give Luis some major, major, major kudos here. Luis really put himself out on the line. I've talked about this before, and I don't want to keep regurgitating it, but he needs these props. Luis did some very, very deep investigation. In fact, borderline scary. He put himself into a very bad position to get to the bottom of something. Luis is Venezuelan, and the community that he's in Houston, and he was trying to end illegal accounts. If you guys remember what was going on at Walmart Spark with the jammers and with the drones and with the way that they were all being distributed to the illegal accounts. Luis got to the bottom of that and uncovered a ton. He sent Sergio and I so much information, it was tough to even go through it all. I know Sergio talked about it a few times on the Rideshare Guy. I did too. But Luis was instrumental in exposing what Walmart Spark was up to. And a lot of you might not know this, but there was a couple of weeks where he was on the news constantly. In some fashion or another, on some channel or another, he was talking about this stuff. He was making an impact, and it changed the way Spark looked at this. So major shout out to him as well. Now, fast forward to 2026 today. A group of legislators and lawmakers, a group of legislators and lawmakers and other interest groups that I have made inroads with over the years through all the people that I've aforementioned. The independent contractors I have worked with, the groups behind those, and helped in so many states because they, even though they don't work the gig apps, they were helping me just like I was helping them. So the illegal accounts issue has been like something that's going on the side of transparency and metrics. But I still focused on transparency and metrics, right? But the illegal accounts got to be too overwhelming. Last year, it got ridiculous. End of 2024, it was starting to pick up, like really getting bad. 2025 was horrible. Luis started sharing these TikToks with me. I wasn't even aware what was going on in TikTok until end of December last year. Started looking into it all this year till now. And again, we'll get into the details of bots and the illegal accounts and how much they cost and why the hell to stay away from them. I mean, aside from the obvious, but for the people that are a little tone deaf, we're going to make sure that you know why to stay away from them too, because, well, we'll get into that. But as many of you know, this is a massive problem. No market is safe from this problem. Just like all gig apps, market to market, some markets are way worse than others. Some states are way worse than others. Some cities, some townships, some municipalities, who knows? Villages. I crafted a letter of everything I've learned about the TikTok, everything I know about the Facebook, and everything I know about the Instagram bots that I was about to send out individually to everybody I've met, lawmakers, independent contractors, the groups, all these. I was going to make each one personalized and then attach that to it. So like a little intro paragraph about how important this is, and especially what's going on TikTok. I threw it by a couple people first before I started doing these individually written out. And before I pulled the trigger on sending it out individually to everybody, Fight for freelancers, independent contractor groups, people I've mentioned already came to me and said, you know what? I see you're at your limit with this one. Let's see what we can pull here. So last week, they helped organize a Zoom meeting, which brought together lawmakers, some of which I've talked to, some of which I've talked to their aides, and some of which I had never talked to in my life. And they organized a Zoom meeting with these lawmakers. And we talked about the illegal accounts. I went through what I wrote, and instead of me putting this out to the masses myself, the lawmakers, all of them, that these people had gathered together for this Zoom meeting. And this is why I'm so appreciative of all of these people. Amazing people. And all of you, for real, like all of you are awesome. You guys have, I mean, without you guys, who knows if I would have kept going? You know, I mean, like, I needed to know some people cared. And the audio podcast, all you guys on all of the social platforms, this is for all of us. This is not me. We are a community. We are a collective. We are fighting for transparency and removal of metrics. I don't see why anybody wouldn't want that unless they were using illegal accounts. Now, the lawmakers that were in on the Zoom meeting said, well, you're not done, Steve. Let me just put it this way, kind of like real easy. You're not done, Steve, but let us handle this step of it. They all took my letter, and I'm sure they're redrafting it to how they want it worded in their state, or how they would word it, kind of thing, because it went to federal agencies. But all of them collectively, independently, but collectively, each took mine and put it into their own words with their own seal on it. And they mailed it to 3 departments: the FTC, the DOJ, and the DOL. The first 2 being the most important. the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, the DOJ, the Department of Justice. Both of those people, both of those federal groups are also involved heavily in the RICO case in Henderson, Nevada. The Department of Labor was brought in as well. I think I was told by a few people why they were brought in, but I think they're more just to kind of be aware of what the other two are doing, the footprint. But because the lawmakers submitted this to these three-letter agencies, they must be handled in a timely manner. Now, if I write a letter to the DOJ, should it not be handled? It absolutely should. I'm a tax-paying citizen of this country, and it should be looked at. And they are technically. But when a lawmaker drafts it from their office, there's some kind of, as I had it put to me, there's some kind of a time-sensitive manner put on it. I mean, is it like a stopwatch that's running? I don't know exactly how that works, but there is a time-sensitive matter when it comes from the office of your lawmakers, your elected officials, where these agencies must get back to you. And this is key, since that this November is the midterms. So getting things through before the midterm, that's why I kept telling you guys, November is huge, important, November 2026, this year. So we'll see where that goes. Do not think for a second that the fight for transparency and metric removal, like we have in our state law here in Colorado, state law for 15 months now, state law. I want to see you guys have that too. And I also want to see this just taken care of, because I think that this helps with the elimination of a lot of the problems. And again, instead of always going after these companies and like all these $1 million lawsuits being thrown all over the place all the time, no. Like, why? Like, let's get to the root of it and just be done with it. Now, I was talking to Sean earlier, and I see Sean just put the laws in the chat. Thank you, Sean. I was talking to Sean earlier, and does this fix everything? Like, is transparency gonna fix your life, or make it so that you're earning $1 million on DoorDash? No. But if the metrics are gone and the transparency is there, so no harm, no foul if you look at it and you don't take it, that's the best you can ask for, because these companies are free to do what they want in terms of paying you. They just have to be honest about it. All we're asking is they be honest and forthright. No independent contractor in any other spectrum is like, hey, you want to do the plumbing, building this house? Sure. What's it pay? It pays at least $10,000, but it might pay $50,000. I don't know. That's not a thing. It's not reality. So transparency and metrics are my primary fight. Right now, I'm working on this illegal thing because this is huge, and it matters to these lawmakers too. So you know what? Am I taking time away from the transparency fight with this? No, because actually I'm making new inroads, better inroads, to get after this thing's done, to also push the transparency down their throat. And that's what I'll do. What I've done, it's what I'll do. We will continue this conversation on Thursday. For you audio podcast listeners, you know that sometimes I drop the Thursday live. So this week I will obviously have a second audio podcast drop. For those of you that joined on all platforms, thank you very much. And you guys, until next time, be safe, earn smart, stay away from illegal accounts. At this point, I don't even care who hears that. You know what I mean? Because we know some people promote it. Stay away from them. You do not want to be caught in the crosshairs of this crap right now. But we will talk about the details, and this is what we said last week when Sean and I were talking. We will talk about the details. I've got them now, how these accounts work on all the platforms. And if anybody else knows about how they work, any other content creators or anything, please put out a video before Thursday. I would love to take in what you think is going on before I break down exactly what is going on. So the clock starts right now. It's Monday. Let's see who by Thursday morning drops a video exactly on how these work. If nobody does, I'll explain it to you with Sean on Thursday. You guys all have a great evening and be good to each other. Peace.
I'm driving my life away.